I'm Tom on the Pacific here with Glenn on the Atlantic, connecting the Atlantic Pacific Underground.
Now, you have a problem. You have a huge problem.
You'd be fired and drawn and quartered and burned at the stake and everything else. Lord have mercy. It would be.
Yeah, exactly. And so you got to love it, because between Kamala Harris and this woman and all the other dumb things we're seeing, they're pushing more and more voters away from who would have liked to stay on the Democratic Party, but can't, because number one, if they're white, they have to admit that they're the enemy and they should be ashamed of themselves for being white. And number two, it's not going to serve them well to vote for Kamala Harris, who will be the next candidate to run against Donald Trump. But that's where we are.
No, it's funny. You're on that bandwagon. I mentioned that to some people otherwise, and they're on board. It's like, this is, she checks all the liberal boxes.
Yes.
So in all due likelihood, she's going to be backed in the 2020 run. The other thing that gets me about this is that the vast majority, the majority of planet Earth is not white. Anglo-Saxon, certainly, here in America, and you have Australia, Britain, places of that nature. But when you look at all of Asia and all of Africa and all of these places, white men are not the majority of planet Earth. America is predominantly white, but look at where we came from. We came from Western Europe, so this isn't a matter of kicking other races out or being cruel to other races. This is just where we started. And I think that, we've come a long way. Everybody likes to look at slavery, it was in which it is. It's a horrible stand in American history, and 660,000 white Union soldiers died to end it, who were sent there by a Republican president.
Right.
When we got rid of the Jim Crow laws, finally, I mean, we've made this progression. Are there going to be any, brownie points given out ever?
No, it's we're not. And this is where we are. If you're a Democrat today and you're sitting there thinking of voting for Kamala Harris, because that's who you're going to have, well, then you're just doing political suicide, because that party will not serve you well. Even if you're a white woman, it will not serve you very well. And it's just interesting when I read about what some people of color are saying. It's interesting. Candace Owens tweeted, in the progressive era, only Anglo-Saxon and Nordic people were considered white people. Italians, Poles, Irish, Germans, and Czechs were widely discriminated in this country. Today's Dems want to wipe history so that they can sanction racism against all people with white skin. And
very true. I'm of Irish heritage, but also part Polish heritage. And, I doubt, I actually kept it a secret to a very high degree when I was a kid, because of, the Polish jokes that were always so popular. That went around, and that was about their language. It was difficult for them to assimilate in America, and they had a tough time understanding and getting to understand, wrapping their head around English. Latin languages had a little bit easier time of it, so they were labeled as stupid. Well, when you go through history, there are some very, very intelligent Polish people, and now you have Poland. You mentioned Hungary. Poland is the one of the few countries anywhere near that European bloc that has blocked off all, we've been very, very picky, I should say, about Muslim immigration. 0 terrorist attacks in Poland. So now who's laughing about intelligence? They're the ones that were smart enough to say, time out. No, you can't just come in here because you're in bad shape, because you're in your country isn't doing so well. We want people here that are going to benefit our country. And after taking a close look at who you seem to be, no, you don't. And they've been very picky. They've practiced extreme vetting techniques, and they've had no points of terrorism in their country. And they love Trump. Boy, the press hated that when Trump went to Poland, and they were just standing out. They loved him.
Oh yeah, that's right. I remember that. And the press was extremely disturbed at the time. And it was fun because, the press, when Trump has a good day somewhere, Holy mackerel! Look out! They are just befuddled.
Dying to pick it apart.
Yeah.
They just are chomping at the bit to find some negative, some way to pick it apart. But they're running out of things to pick apart.
They are.
Know, it's just everything they chip at, and there's a cycle that's getting smaller and smaller. They've been things that they'll go back to. They'll do Russia, they'll do Stormy Daniels, they'll do this, or then they'll come back around. But it's getting smaller and smaller as the American people are doing better and better and caring less and less about the issues of the mainstream media.
Right, and I just want to. There's a beautiful reporter. She's in her, I think she's about 30, and she's from Italy. And this is what she tweeted. She said, "The level of anti-white hatred I've witnessed here in America is something I have never remotely seen in Europe."
Wow.
This is an American, this is the death of the nation. If you want to make comparisons, why is it happening here? Why isn't it happening in Europe? This is where we are today. And
what gets me is you have white people tweeting out and Facebooking out anti-white things. I hate myself because I'm white. What kind of recipe is that for success if you feel guilty for something you've never done? If you're going to beat yourself up over over something, if you keep going on the this thought trek that, oh, well, white people are evil, and all of my teachers have said that white people are the problem, so I need to hate myself. When you touch on this whole self-deprecation thing, that's not good for anybody.
No, and they're teaching this in the schools, and I can't imagine going through the school. We went through the lefty school system. We got bused, and we went through a lot of this stuff that we're seeing today. But the fact is that today it is so thick that if you're a white kid going to school, you must be feeling confused about things because they're not teaching things in a way that promotes goodwill and what I would call unity. And America, one last thing, identity politics is this thing that the person that ascribes to it wants the government to take care of them, because now they've met a certain category and the government will come. And it's just very, very unappealing to those who are for being independent, responsible. And that's the problem. And so we have a huge socialist movement, not huge, but we have a socialist movement within the Democratic Party that's using this stuff and trying to, just build their party, and they're doing it well. San Francisco, they're gonna let illegal aliens vote for school board, and then it's just going to escalate from there. We have a serious problem in this country with the left figuring out creative ways to build their party. And
I tell you what, it's interesting that this whole Russian bot controversy, Russian controlling the vote, these allegations of Russians being involved in the American voting process. Okay, well, let's go back to paper vote and require ID. Oh no, can't do that.
Yeah.
Well, that would solve the problem. Russia would no longer have an influence in any way, shape, or form on anything now, would they? Oh, no, can't do that. That's racist. Racist how? You need ID, whether you're black, white, green, blue, or purple, to get on an airplane, get on a train, buy a pack of cigarettes, buy alcohol, get married, open a bank account. Are all those things racist? I don't think so. And it's this whole push, and like I said, no small part of it is the fact that things are all kinds of different groups are starting to say, wait a minute, 4.1 is better than 1.6. You may not completely understand what that means to the American economy, which fact it's like almost $2 trillion in economic growth. But we see, I was unemployed and now I'm not. Things are getting better. Our paychecks have gotten bigger from the tax cut. Wait a minute. I don't think I believe everything I'm hearing.
Right. And it just shows you how things are going to the dogs. And speaking of dogs, Tom, we saw an interesting story. A gentleman saw a dog in a car. It was locked. The windows are all rolled up. It was very hot. And so he decided to break the window to save the dog. Well,
I would have.
right. Moments later, the owner of the dog comes out of the store wondering what the hell is he doing breaking into her car. And she calls the police, and the gentleman was fined. And he said he would do it again if under the same circumstance.
The guy who broke the window was fined, not the guy who had his dog locked in a hot car.
Right. Yeah, the guy who broke the window to save the dog.
Oh, for crying out
save
loud.
This person's dog got in trouble. Now, there were people who actually posted, I saw the story on Facebook, that, they agree that he should have been fined and blah, 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 blah. But the thing is, how many minutes are acceptable? And sure, I mean, he could have, he could have called animal control, but you know what? It's how he doesn't know how long that dog has been in the car.
Exactly.
Yeah. And the other thing is we see little babies dying every year from this sort of thing. I watch. There's going to be some baby that's going to die before the summer is over. And unfortunately, I hate to say that, but it's
awful.
It's the inevitability of us. Anyway, it's the inevitability.
Well, what happens is, and I think we can all relate to this, is some young mom, inexperienced mom, thinks, well, I'm only going to be in the store for a couple minutes. You know what? I just need a quart of half and half, or I just need, a little milk from the bodega or the little corner market and stuff like that. Go in, and then you run into a friend. Or the clerk says, gee, I haven't seen you in a while. How you been? Hey, and you get distracted by something. Maybe you drop something out of your pocket that you have to stop and pick it up. And before you know it, that quick couple 2-3 minute trek inside turns into 10 minutes. And, a small child, a small dog, or life form can die very quickly. They, here in California, they had a similar thing. And the guy wound up calling animal control and they came out. But he was on the phone, and they were going to tell him to break the window if he had an ability to do so, because when they got to the car, the inside of the car was over 130 degrees.
Oh my God, that's oven.
Yeah, I mean, you or I could die in that kind of heat. I mean, that's a ridiculous level of heat to expose to a small dog. And you and I are both animal lovers, and that's bad enough. But you leave a small baby, in weather like that, it doesn't take long. It would not take long to harm that child. But
right.
In the case of a dog, if it was, I would keep an eye on it, and I would have something very large and heavy in my car to be able to smush that window in. And if I saw that dog starting to go down, I'd smash the window. I'd do it. You know what? If it cost me, the replacement of a window, so be it. But I'm not going to sit there and let a small defenseless dog die because some idiot is in the store and let their dog in a car that's 130, 140 degrees.
Thank you for tuning in to the Atlantic Pacific Underground.